What is up, fight fans? So, I'm going to be giving my breakdown and prediction for the main event at UFC Saudi Arabia. Completely new opponent for Robert Whittaker. Completely different style switch as well. He went from facing one of the best grapplers in Khamzat Chimaev to now one of the best strikers of the sort of that Dagestani wave, and Ikram Aliskerov, although I don't think he's not Dagestani, but you get the point. Khamzat, Chechnya, Russia, same difference, but still, now he's taking on a really dangerous striker. Um, it's funny though, because I was gonna pick Khamzat to beat Whittaker. I was starting to believe that his physicality combined his really strong wrestling grappling game was actually going to be too much for Whittaker. Not seeing what Duplessis was able to do, it made me think that Chimaev was going to be able to do something very similar, but unfortunately he fell ill. Prayers up for Hamzat. Get well soon. But now Whittaker last minute has to adjust. He spent all this time preparing his takedown defense. Now he's got short amount of time to prepare for the striking style of Ikram Aliskerov, and Aliskerov is extremely dangerous. A very dangerous striker, explosive, especially in that first round. Um, but he can even go past the first round. I did my research, so every round it's going to be dangerous for Whittaker. He's got to be on his toes. He's got to be on edge every single round. He cannot be complacent. He cannot lose focus. And he cannot underestimate this guy either. And a lot of people are sleeping on Ikram Aliskerov. 28% votes for Ikram, 72 Whittaker, which I can understand because not many people know who Ikram is. He's fairly new. Everyone knows who Bobby Knuckles is, but the unknowns can always make an opponent very dangerous, and it can make these fights hard to predict because Ikram doesn't have the experience that Whittaker does. However, that can mean nothing. Like, we don't know how good he is. We don't know if he's on Whittaker's level or not. But we have evidence to suggest that maybe he isn't. His level of competition that he's fought. So Whittaker has fought the upper echelon of the sport, but Aliskerov, only two UFC fights. You might be able to count the Contender Series, but let's say three UFC fights, three UFC wins and finishes, but against who? Like, who is this guy beaten? Warri Alves, Phil Hawes. Who doesn't knock out Phil Hawes? And there's 12 wins outside of the UFC because he did have that one loss to Khamzat where he did really well until he got KO'd by the uppercut. These weren't against guys like worth mentioning. Whittaker has shown that he can hang with the best dudes in the world and beat the best guys in the world. Um, but I don't know. We don't know. We don't know. We just don't know. Like, can I bank on this guy to do to Whittaker what he did to Phil Hawes and Warri Alves? I mean, he did chin Warri with a southpaw jab, and he is southpaw. Whittaker, when he lunges, can be susceptible to that southpaw jab. He can get a little bit sloppy on the offense, and Ikram, I know he's doing his homework. He could definitely capitalize on those holes, especially on short notice. I can very well see that. But even still, Robert Whittaker does have good survival skills. Like, even when he's hurt, he does know how to survive. He does know how to recover, regroup, and kind of take back control of the fight. Costa hurt him, but he was able to still dominate that fight against Paulo Costa. However, of course, Aliskerov is a different style from Costa. Costa is just a big brute with lack of technical skills. Aliskerov is extremely technical as a striker. He's very good. His kicks are good, and he's very fast, very dynamic. But I do think Robert Whittaker, I think his combination punching is a little bit better. I just think he puts together combinations a little bit better than Ikram. Ikram is fast when he gets going, but before that, he's very, reserved, patient, doesn't move his feet a lot. Whittaker's, always moving, always bouncing around. And I think that might be an advantage for the Reaper here. Being faster, being slick with his movement. He can be a bit chinny, which is worrisome because of the power Aliskerov has. And of the two, if anyone's going to get a finish, it's definitely going to be Aliskerov. Robert Whittaker hasn't had a finish since 2017. I can only see him winning this fight by a decision. But he gets wobbled in almost every fight, so I could easily see Ikram Aliskerov maybe taking some shots and then finding his own shot and then knocking out Whittaker. That could happen. Um, but I am going to go with Robert Whittaker to win this fight. I think Whittaker will win by decision, but I do think it will be competitive. I do think Ikram will show how good he is and that he does belong at the top. I do think he will have his moments. He might win some rounds like outstriking Whittaker, but ultimately I think Whittaker is going to have a little bit more volume, a little bit more combinations. Um, I don't know if he can mix in takedowns when he needs to, because this is a guy who stuffed takedowns of Khamzat Chimaev, every takedown. Now, he was expecting it from Khamzat, maybe because Whittaker, he wouldn't be prepared for that. Whittaker could take advantage and take him down since Whittaker was in a grappling heavy camp, but who knows? I reckon Aliskerov will actually have the grappling advantage, so I think he'll be primarily striking. I think Whittaker will be a step ahead, but I don't think he'll dominate the fight. And I think Aliskerov will have that kind of performance that Darren Till had against Whittaker, where like he lost to the better man, but he gave a good showing. I see something very similar in this fight, but I will not be shocked. I will not be surprised if Aliskerov wins. I just can't bank on it. Because, like I said, we don't know how good this guy is. He's not fought a ranked opponent in the UFC. He hasn't proven himself, and Whittaker has. So I have a little bit more confidence picking someone like Robert than Aliskerov. But we shall see what happens. It might be better for the division if Ikram wins, because it's fresh blood. There's some new, interesting matchups for him at the top. Like, imagine Ikram versus Duplessis, Israel Adesanya, maybe rescheduling the Costa fight, Sean Strickland. So many interesting fights if this guy can actually beat Rob. And then I mentioned Khamzat. Imagine this guy takes the opportunity Khamzat missed. He ends up being ranked top 3 while Khamzat's recovering and ranked behind him. Could you imagine? And then that sets up a rematch down the line between Aliskerov and Khamzat. What if these two meet down the line in a title fight at middleweight? That would be epic. That would be crazy. It does suck though that Usman, who said yes, wasn't picked to fight Whittaker, because I would have been a lot more interested in that fight. I do think Whittaker would have beaten Usman, but I would have rathered that one. But this is a good fight as well. I'll take it. With that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Who do you guys see winning this fight? And stay on the lookout for my prediction video for Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. Like and subscribe, and peace.